Generative AI has taken the world by storm, providing instant and tailored results to any questions we ask. The initial impact of text-based generative AI, such as ChatGPT, shook the traditional educational system, with educators split on if the technology should be adopted or banned. This video is the first of a three-part mini-series that will dive into generative AI from an educational perspective. The video will cover the basics of generative AI, including its inner workings, disadvantages, and advantages. The second will cover the use of generative AI from the educator's perspective, and the third video will show students how to use generative AI as an effective tutor. This video will provide viewers with the baseline knowledge of generative AI, along with methods to correctly interact with generative AI to identify its benefits and limitations. ChatGPT, a popular generative AI tool, defines artificial intelligence as a computer performing a task that typically requires human intelligence. A good example is predictive text on your smartphone. Based on the patterns of your previous messages, an AI presents you with its best guess of your next word. It is important to remember this example as we take a deeper look into generative AI. Generative AI is a small subdiscipline of deep learning. Deep learning uses large neural network architectures to model complex systems, such as the English language. Generative AI focuses on generating text, images, and even videos based on the learned distribution between text and the corresponding output. An example is DALL-E, a text-to-image AI where I prompted the AI to create the mind of generative AI. It generated this image, which is 100% unique. However, if you reverse image search the image, it comes up with very similar images. This is because the image-to-text AI, DALL-E, was trained on those images, and therefore, the AI generated a synthesis of these images that we see in Google. The same synthesis can be seen in text-to-text generative AI when it is asked to tell a short joke. The generative AI returns a very popular and basic joke, which is most likely the most popular joke on the internet or the dataset that generative AI was trained on. Before we dive into how to use generative AI, it is important to have a basic understanding of how it works. The first neural networks were first introduced in the early to mid-1990s, and since a particular avenue of research called natural language processing has emerged. Natural language processing uses neural networks called large language models to predict the next series of texts given an initial string of text, often referred to as a prompt. Google significantly accelerated the capabilities of large language models when they released the Transformer neural network architecture. The Transformer architecture revolutionized large language models by allowing sequential data such as text to be processed simultaneously. It does this using encoder and decoder blocks. The encoder blocks are responsible for extracting the relevant information from the input, which in the case of ChatGPT is a user's prompt. The decoder blocks are responsible for generating the output one word at a time by selecting the word with the highest probability of coming next. After the first iteration, the selected word is passed back to the input of the decoder block, and the process is repeated until full paragraphs are produced. OpenAI's goal is to use a pre-trained transformer architecture, known as GPT, to create artificial general intelligence, or AGI. You can think of AGI as a digital brain that encompasses all the information from the internet. ChatGPT is an example of OpenAI's AGI, which uses 96 layers of encoder and decoder transformer blocks to create an AGI. The ChatGPT model was trained using massive amounts of data from across the internet, allowing it to become an AGI. The model was then tailored using reinforcement learning to act as a chatbot, and thus ChatGPT as we know it was born. While ChatGPT has clearly been the most popular and controversial generative AI tool, it is important to know that generative AI has been around for a long time, with applications in image and video creation, along with specific text-based generative AIs such as GitHub Copilot, which assists you as you program. The application field for generative AI is endless, and we will see it creep into more and more digital domains as the technology matures. Here are a few items that are recommended to be included in your prompt. Including these items allows the encoder blocks of the ChatGPT transformers to correctly identify the format, topic, length, and many other elements that comprise your desired response. If you are interested in learning more about these prompting guidelines, please visit the Generative AI LinkedIn page, which is full of helpful tips and tricks for interacting with generative AIs. Let's look at a simple example of using ChatGPT. Here I have a simple prompt which requests ChatGPT to edit this paragraph for spelling and grammar, and then underline any changes, a very simple task. ChatGPT initially returns this edited paragraph, and you can see that it has fixed the grammatical errors. Unfortunately, ChatGPT did not highlight the errors like I told it to. Sending a follow-up prompt, I asked ChatGPT what it corrected in the paragraph. It stated it fixed the following issues highlighted in green. However, we can clearly see that ChatGPT did edit the word confederation, but it did not highlight it. Additionally, the words and punctuations highlighted in orange represent the changes ChatGPT made but did not highlight. The outcome of this exercise demonstrates that ChatGPT isn't an accurate and precise magical box that does exactly what you command it to. This is where prompt engineering comes into play. By harnessing the prompting guidelines from the previous slide, we can get generative AI to react in a way that we want it to. Here is an example of a prompt that has been engineered such that the result from ChatGPT could be implemented. Within this prompt, I gave ChatGPT a context and tone for what I am doing. The tone being an event that would be exciting to third graders, and the context is teaching third graders telemetry. I provided ChatGPT with a clear objective of generating an interactive exercise. ChatGPT then generates a very good draft of an exercise that would be captivating to third grade students, while inherently teaching them about telemetry. A third grade teacher could simply take this example and tailor it to their class, enhancing the exercise based on the inherent strengths and weaknesses of the cohort. This is a basic example of having generative AI assist you in completing a task. However, it is always important to question the validity of what ChatGPT provides you. A good example where ChatGPT falls short is its application of math. While it's impressive for a large language model to do simple math, it is important to verify the answers you are provided. Here's a basic example of asking ChatGPT to do the square root of a large number. The result is similar to that of MATLAB, which is an accurate mathematical tool. However, it's not exactly correct. If we go one step further and take the cubic root of the number, ChatGPT's error increases while still confidently providing you with the answer. Finally, asking ChatGPT for the fourth and quartic root of the number further increases the error. It is important to remember that ChatGPT is a large language model that uses correlation between the input text and output text, and so inherently it doesn't have the accurate mathematical abilities that your calculator would have. In the future, I expect generative AI models to have the ability to interact with mathematical softwares, such as Wolfram Alpha, to present mathematically correct answers. Counting and staying to prescribed limit is also a shortfall of ChatGPT. Here I entered a simple prompt to understand Fredericton, New Brunswick in the 1900s. Following ChatGPT's response, I asked ChatGPT how many words were in the paragraph, in which it stated 192, close to the original goal of 200. However, the paragraph only had 164 words. This example reiterates that it's important to remember that you are dealing with a large language model when you interact with ChatGPT, where its goal is to provide you the statistically best response based off the prompt you provided. In the final part of this video, I wanted to go over the current evolution of generative AI. It is important to know that ChatGPT and the large language models we interact with evolve over time. This is due to the reinforcement learning implemented to improve the GPT models. While the models have improved, the output of the models have been censored, which has a negative effect of restricting the model's capabilities. In the early days of ChatGPT, you could ask its political opinions and could even ask for the ingredients required to make explosives. Now these prompts result in a basic censored reply, such as, quote, I don't have personal opinions or preferences, including political ones." Unquote. A great paper entitled "How is ChatGPT Changing Over Time?" has studied the evolution of ChatGPT's 3.4 and 4 model. I will include the link to the paper in the description below. The paper goes in depth on the accuracy and verbosity of the response from these generative AI models. Here's a simple example of code generation for a given problem. In the 3-month gap between tests, ChatGPT evolved to produce less directly executable code with a more verbose answer. Here is another example where the GPT models are asked if a number is prime. You can see that GPT 3.5 increased in accuracy and verbosity, while GPT-4 decreased in accuracy and verbosity between the tests. Here are a few more examples shown in the paper that prove how these generative AI models evolve over time. I encourage you to read the paper, and I will link it in the description below. This concludes the first video of the mini-series on generative AI. Remember, as technology advances, we must adapt, incorporating useful technologies to enhance our lives. If you're interested in using generative AI as a student or educator, please check out our next videos.